So now on to looking at energy and processing for the footprint. Now, it's important at this step there's two different ways of entering data. The first option is to put in energy use, so the kilowatt hours or the diesel used for the growing area in question. So you remember from step 2, for this footprint we've chosen 1 hectare, so looking to put data in for that single hectare of production. So if you know the diesel and you know the electricity, then add from this drop down, and that's really the most accurate and the best way to complete. However, sometimes you won't have those specific data, so we can put in information on field operations and irrigation and processing, and that will calculate the energy used for those activities, which I'll show you in a moment. But first, let's say that we know our electricity figure, and we can choose from grid electricity or from renewables. So I would choose electricity grid. The usage here again relates to the output from that growing area, so we've chosen 1 hectare, so I'll say 1000 kilowatt hours, and that can be for the field or for processing, so I'll put this down as processing. So now I want to add field operations. So as I've said, we could put this in here and choose the diesel and the volume of diesel if we know it. I'm going to say I don't know that, so I'll remove, and I will go through this process of adding field operations. So we can add machine, so we can choose our machine. So I'll begin with a subsoiler, and fuel type is diesel, and number of operations I'll put as 1 operation, and that calculates the associated diesel with that operation. And we can add more, so go through, I put in ploughing here, again number of operations is 1 operation, and that again will calculate the diesel used. And I can keep going, maybe put in some herbicide spraying, and I will choose 3 operations this time. And lastly, for our potatoes, put in potato harvester here, and a single operation there. So those calculate the diesel usage for each operation. As I've said, if you know the specific diesel volume that you've used in the field and the growing area in question, and that's more accurate and preferable way of completing this section. So irrigation here, so you can choose the method. So if we put in, say, rain gun, percentage irrigated, I'll say 100%. Pumping depth, so you can choose, I'll put in meters, and say it's 50 meter pumping depth. Horizontal distance, well, it might be quite far, so we can put in 1 kilometer. And then the water added, put in centimeters, put in 12 centimeters here. And then the power source, is it predominantly electric or diesel? I'll say electric. Okay, other data here, processing, we put in above, we put in our electricity, so we don't need to complete that. Storage, for potatoes, we can put in data on storage. And this last question, wastewater, this really doesn't apply unless you're completing data for coffee, so for most crops you can ignore that. So that's us on energy and processing. Again, the results have populated here on the right, so our footprint is updating as we go through. And I'm finished now, so I'll save and continue and go on to the next step.